Well, yes, my name is Diane and I come from Texas and my hair is so big. I'm touching God. I'm not just talking to him. What's up, Victoria? It's Victoria, and today we're going to do a Vieve brand review. Over the past couple of months, I've been testing Vieve products behind the scenes. Some of it has been on my face when I've done videos, but I wanted to keep it all behind the scenes so I could test it without feeling biased or feeling like anyone was putting what their thoughts of a certain product were on me before I had made my decision on a product. I am excited to report back to you my findings. But if you happen to be new to my channel, I would love for you to hit the subscribe button. I don't do a ton of full brand reviews like this, but I like to do them occasionally because I think they're really fun to do and they give me a lot of work to do that I like to do and to really get into things. So if you like this kind of content, please consider hitting the subscribe button. I will also ask you to check out my pinned comment. In that pinned comment will be links to support people directly in Gaza. If you have additional funds right now, please consider sending them some of your support. There should be chapters along the bottom and timestamps in the description box if you want to only hear about a specific product. Feel free to jump around. Today, I'm going to be going in the order of operation of how I would apply them to my face. Whenever I do these in-depth, deep dive brand reviews, I think it's really important off the top to note that this is not a common thing to do. If you are just someone who loves makeup and you're not a content creator and you're not independently wealthy, there is no reason for you to buy a full face of makeup from any brand. This is something that is very specific to this type of job. I am lucky enough to make a little bit of money on YouTube. This purchase was funded fully by Patreon and channel members. And another thing, I don't have one of each item that Vieve sells. I was a little bit selective about what I chose. I tried to pick things that I think people want to know about the most, and I also tried to pick things that I'm interested in. So it's a little bit of a balance. Vieve is a brand that I think is really alluring to the American customer. However, there's nowhere easy here to buy it. We can buy it directly from their website. I think Cult Beauty stocks some, if not all, of Vieve products. And then we also have Space NK, which we can order from, but it's not really something that you can go into in the US. I don't think there's any Space NK stores, but I know that Ulta just bought Space NK, so who knows what the future of Space NK is in the United States. Perhaps in the US we'll be seeing Vieve products in store very soon. Whenever I was trying to figure out if I wanted to do another brand review, what brand review would I do? A lot of my subscribers suggested both Rituel de Fille and Vieve. Now, the reason I didn't do Rituel de Fille is because I've actually tried a lot of Rituel de Fille products over the years, and I just decided to put all of my experiences with some first impressions in one video so people could get my opinion on the whole range all in one place. If you're interested in my Rituel de Fille video, I will link that up in the cards, and I will try to remember to put it in the description box. I also am kind of compelled by Vieve. I think they sell a fantasy that I am interested in. I think the thing that me and other people who are in the American market, and I don't know where else it's easily accessible to buy Vieve. I don't know if it's just like a UK thing or if there's like other places in Europe where you can easily access it. It's very difficult to surmise from the imagery that they shoot and put on their website and provide to other retailers what shade anything is going to be, if their imagery is true to form. Before I bought anything, my impression was that everything was going to be very golden, and we'll figure that out along the way whether that is true or not. I was really concerned that I wasn't going to be able to find a complexion product in this range. I said, let me do the work so I can show it to you. Unfortunately, I have one skin tone, so when it comes to the complexion products, I can only speak to the one shade, but I will give you my best review of that shade. Anytime I do a brand review of a brand that is kind of hard to get in the US, I'm really trying to answer whether or not it is worth it for an American consumer to buy that product, because there's a certain amount of wait time, and now with like tariffs and things like that, who knows how much it costs to get things. I think this is just kind of the question I'm trying to answer, is like, is this actually worth you as a US person to go out of your way to buy? It's also obviously just to tell you whether or not a product is good, because there are some products that I have encountered that are good but were hard to get, and it's like you don't need to go out of your way to get it, but it was like nice to try. This brand is started by the influencer and makeup artist Jamie Genevieve. I don't know how long she's been on YouTube or how long she did YouTube, but that is where this brand started, and I think that they sold some like capital relatively recently within the last couple of years in order to produce some new products, but I think mostly the brand is just financed by Jamie Genevieve. That's pretty cool. I really love to see it, and I think that's what's really unique about Vieve. For it to be like an influencer brand, it really has kind of dispelled that from its story. I don't feel like when people think of Vieve, they think of it as an influencer brand the same way whenever we hear like Lunar Beauty or Nimya, we think that's an influencer brand. Of course, really great products can come from influencer brands. It's just interesting that Vieve has seemed to like have shaken that. So as I go through each product, I'm going to put up a bunch of swatches, applications. I'm going to also put up some screenshots from the website just so you can get like kind of the vibe and what I mean when I was talking about the imagery versus reality. Let's get into it. I think it's finally time to start talking about products, and the first product we're going to talk about is I think the thing that is what most of you are excited to hear my thoughts on. The first product we will be talking about is the Skin Nova. So this is their primer. This is their travel size. It's $18. There are two larger sizes than this. There is the 1 ounce size, which is $39. There's also a 3.4 ounce size, and that one costs $86. Whenever I am buying for full brand reviews, in order to save myself a little bit of money and also in order to not be incredibly wasteful, I try to buy travel sizes where I can. Some travel sizes did come out after I made this purchase, which is whatever, and we'll talk about that in a moment. That's what I normally try to do, which is why I only bought this size. So just to kind of give you an idea of what I look for in a primer, what I'm interested in as a primer, and to tell you like what my skin is like. I am 34 years old. My skin is like just starting to like show some signs of aging. I'm starting to get more crow's feet. Things move around my face. I get caught into creases a little bit more than they used to. And I typically like for my products to have a bit of a skin finish, if not just like a straight skin finish. I like it to be a little bit glowier rather than matte, but my skin is also oily. So that is something that I'm looking for, is something that can have the glow, but not look incredibly oily on my skin. I have just learned over time that it is better to just like lean into the glow of being oily rather than to combat it with mattifying products, but everyone has their own preferences. If you also have oily skin, but you like matte products, my recommendations might not be consistent with what you would want for your experience. Whenever I was getting into the Vieve of it all, this is the thing that everyone was excited to hear my thoughts on. I'm a big fan of the original formulation of the Victoria Beckham Cell Rejuvenating Primer. People are like, it's very similar, and we'll talk about that in like a moment, whether or not they are similar, but I just want to like spotlight this product first. I think a very important thing that you should know about is that there are some very scented products in this range, and one of the scented products is this. So if you are sensitive to fragrance, or you know what fragrances you are sensitive to, I would check out the ingredient list. I don't think that it says the word fragrance in it, but there are some essential oils in there. So if you are sensitive to essential oils, I think that is what is causing it to be scented. They are lower on the ingredient list, but they are there just in case that's something you need to avoid. The scent is consistent in the products that it is in. It's not in everything, but the products that are scented have the same scent. The scent, to me, in my opinion, is really pleasant. I've looked at the ingredients. I've seen like what the scents are, but like they don't smell like any singular one of them. It's just kind of like this like vaguely citrusy scent, and it is kind of potent. With this product, it does dissipate. There's another product that I'll talk about where it doesn't dissipate. This is a pretty thick, glowy, moisturizing primer. It is this like beautiful golden color. It doesn't help dispel any of the rumors that like everything that Vieve sells is golden. Look at it. It is really gold. However, when you do blend it into the skin, it does melt away. I think it leaves a little bit of a gold remnant. If you were around when I was testing the Victoria Beckham golden version of the primer, when I was using that one, it has a similar vibe. Like it just melts into the skin. It doesn't darken my skin, which I think sometimes the Victoria Beckham one could, but this one I just feel like leaves my skin kind of just like more glowy with a golden glow rather than just like darkening my skin or do anything to just like alter what my skin looks like other than just provide glow. I also think that this product is like pretty blurring. Like it's not like a blurring primer. It's not like a silicone-y blurry primer, but I think it does just like enhance my skin and make it look a little bit better. And it has a nice tack to it for application of foundation on top. It's not like the Hydro Grip primer, but just like a nice little bit of tackiness to allow product to go on top. But if you leave it on your skin long enough, it sets and then the tackiness goes away. It's not like it's like so sticky that if you don't put anything on top of it, you're gonna like have like all of your hair and everything stick to it. By itself, before we start comparing it to the Victoria Beckham product, it's a beautiful product and I really like it. In regards to whether or not it is similar to the Victoria Beckham Cell Rejuvenating Priming Moisturizer, one thing you need to keep in mind, this is the original formulation. Victoria Beckham earlier this year reformulated this. I have not tried it. I'm not comparing it to that. A lot of my subscribers know that I use this. A lot of my subscribers also really like this product, and I think a lot of people are concerned about trying the new one or just seeing if there's any other options out there. In the comparison to this product, I would say that they are quite similar. The Vieve product obviously has that glow. This is just the original priming moisturizer, so there's no like golden thing to it. I think they make my skin look very similar. I think the only thing is that the actual texture of the Vieve formula is like the slightest bit thicker, but it melts into the skin just as easily as the Victoria Beckham priming moisturizer. The Vieve Skin Nova has a little bit of that tackiness, and I don't feel like the Victoria Beckham product has that. So I do think that this actually makes my makeup wear a little bit better. And this is sold as a primer, whereas this is sold as a priming moisturizer. I do feel as though that this is like more a moisturizer that could be used as a primer rather than a straight primer, where this product is like designed to be a primer and performs as a primer. I think they're really similar, and I do think it's worth trying if you are looking for a replacement for this. I don't know that they need to like come out with a version that doesn't have like that golden gleam to it, because anything I've put on top of it, you know, it doesn't like really change the color or like the glow or the effect of it. It just makes my skin look really good, and makeup really wears well over it. And I do think it enhances the wear time of my product. So if you are interested in this product, I think this is a product that is actually absolutely worth going out of your way to try. If you are looking for a primer, if you are looking for a high performing primer, if you're looking for a luxury primer, I will say the packaging leaves something to be desired, and in all sizes, it is a squeezy tube. This is glass and, you know, has like that whole thing going for it. I think that the Vieve Skin Nova is the way to go as a replacement for the Cell Rejuvenating Priming Moisturizer. This product also has niacinamide in it if you try to avoid niacinamide or if you're sensitive to it. On the website, they also show this like all over people's like décolleté and shoulders. I don't know that it makes my skin that glowy for it to be something that I would use like that, but if you're looking for like a slight glow, like not something really highlighting on your skin that sets, this would work for that. But I just don't know that it's as like glowy as they make it seem on the website. I'm so devastated that I bought the mini of this actually. Like I actually really like this product. I wish I would have at least bought the 1 ounce size, because this is one of the products that I continually went back to the drawer for. I was like, I want to use that. I want to use that. And I think I only have like a handful of uses left. It's been real tough to get product out of there. I used it today on my face. Not everything on my face today is Vieve, but I used it today. I have other priming products that I'm really enjoying, so I don't know that I would go out and buy this like immediately after I finish this. I also still have this to finish, but once this is gone, this is something I am considering to use to replace it. This is their Modern Radiance Concealer. I have the shade Light 1. It has 0.45 ounces of product and it is $31 at the time of me filming. Who knows like anymore how much anything will cost. It comes in 20 shades, and I do feel like they give you a generous amount of product. Most concealers have between like 0.2 and 0.3 fluid ounces of product. $31 is a more expensive concealer, but a price per ounce, it probably is cheaper than some concealers that are like technically cheaper, just depending on how much product that they have in them. This product is not scented like the Skin Nova. No scent. It just smells like product. The packaging, I don't know if this feels like a completely custom component. It's just, you know, a square kind of thing. The top is gold. It has their logo on the top, just the logo on the side. And I don't know what I want to be my concealer experience, but I think if it was glass and it had almost a half an ounce of product in it, that would be pretty heavy. And I know that concealer for a lot of people is something that they like keep in their bag so they can touch up throughout the day. So I think having this generous amount in this size, in this component, it's fine. It has a really big applicator. Big concealer applicators, not for me. I like something that's a little smaller and something that I feel like I have control over. I don't use a lot of concealer. I don't really spot conceal with product. So having this big doe foot applicator to put under my eyes is like just not my thing. I would prefer something a little bit smaller. However, when you're giving us this much product, I guess it makes sense that it's bigger. And I know that some people do prefer a bigger doe foot, so that's just a preference thing. They say on their website that it's medium to full coverage. I would agree with that. It's more coverage for concealer than I typically use. I would say I typically, in both foundation and concealer, like something medium at most. And then for complexion products, I really like light cover. This is like perfectly workable, but because the applicator is so big and it applies so much product, I think that sometimes it could look heavy under my eyes. Like if I went in with the doe foot and I just did like one dot under each eye and I like blended it up and down my cheek, it always felt like I was applying too much. So what I would do with this is either put it on the back of my hand or put it on a mixing palette and then pick up a brush, put it in there, get some product on the brush and then put it on my face. And I felt like that always made it look better and wear better on my skin. And that might not be for everyone. I just felt like it could look a little bit cakey. And on my under eye, it looked worse if I applied it directly with the applicator and blended it out rather than going off of the back of my hand or the mixing palette. And I think that's just due to like the thickness of it. It is a pretty thick concealer, and that is like sometimes okay with me, but sometimes I like to have something a little bit thinner. My more favorite formulas tend to be very thin but highly pigmented, as opposed to feeling like a thick, creamy concealer. I just prefer something just a little bit lighter feeling. And by putting it on the back of my hand and warming it up, or putting it on the mixing palette before I put it on my eye, I feel like that really helped control how much I was applying, and that way I didn't have the problem of feeling like I was applying too much concealer. The website also says that this is a luminous concealer. I think it's like skin finish verging on luminous, not quite like something that I would describe strictly as luminous, because I don't really like luminous concealers under my eyes, like something with a lot of glow. Because it's so big, I have worn it as a foundation. I think it's a beautiful medium to full coverage foundation. I really liked wearing it that way. I think it looked really beautiful that way, and it also wore really beautiful throughout the day. That was always my preferred way to wear it when I was testing it. I liked wearing it more as a foundation than as a concealer, and then I would use one of my more favorite concealers to use under my eyes, and I would use that all over the rest of the face. I have been in a mode recently where I have just been using complexion products kind of however I see fit, which is like kind of taking concealers, mixing them with other things, thinning them out, putting them all over. It's like that's just kind of what I've been really into, and I think that really works. Mixing it with other things to thin it out also works quite well. I do want to talk about the shade though, and I think that's what's more important. I think that's what a lot of people want to hear about. When I was navigating the 20 shades, it was really difficult for me to figure out because, as I said earlier, it does seem like they shoot their photography in warm light, and it is really hard to tell the undertones of their products in the lighting that they choose to shoot it in. I think it's the lighting. Maybe it is some post touching up things that like make it look a little bit warmer, but I just feel like whenever you look at it, it's just like I don't see a skin tone for me there, because my skin is fair, neutral with some pink undertones. Because of all the warmth in all of the photography, it just felt like I didn't really have a match, and I was really concerned about that. I could kind of tell the person in the photography might have had a similar skin tone to me, but I wasn't 100% sure. I have had really much better luck historically whenever I'm guessing what shade is right for me, going based off of what they say rather than what I'm seeing. This has kind of just like been something historically for me that works, especially when it comes to complexion product. It's like if they say it's like a light neutral, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just believe you. It doesn't always work. Charlotte Tilbury, all of her stuff really is golden, and like I need to wear like cool toned things specifically in her line for it to actually show up as neutral on me. So like, you know, it depends on the brand. That was what I was going based off of, and I think that this shade does work for me. I am not really sure how I feel about this shade range though, as far as like depth. I think that whenever you look, there's like these like little images of shades on like the right hand side where it's like click for your shade. That doesn't look like a really good gradient, but whenever you pull up like the full range of like all the people wearing all of the shades, it does look like a pretty good gradient. But what I will say, the deepest concealer on the deepest model that they use, when you see there's like an application video, it does look like the concealer is like a little bit ashy on that person and maybe a little bit lighter than that person's skin tone. I can't speak to like the deepest complexion of it. Any shade range could use work. And with 20 shades and with something with this much coverage, you're gonna need a vast shade range for more people to be able to use your product. But it does seem like one of those brands where it's just like the focus is really the middle of the pack and there's like some shades on either side, deeper or lighter. I do feel like it is a light neutral. So I swatched it up against all of my other concealers and to try to get an understanding of what formula it was most similar to and what color it was most similar to. And the color that I think it's most similar to may surprise you, just based on the brand that it is and the way that it was marketed to us. The thing I think it's closest to in my collection as far as shade, just the shade, not the consistency, is the Refi concealer in the shade 3. And this is actually quite a desaturated shade, and I wasn't expecting this to be the one that it was closest to. I'm going to swatch them next to each other, but they are very similar. This is the Vieve shade, and then this is the Refi shade. The Refi shade's a little more desaturated. This has a bit of a golden bit to it, but like they are pretty much the same shade. And I was just shocked by that because of how Vieve photographs all of their stuff. I just thought it was going to be way more gold, but it works for my skin tone. And so if you're not far off from shade 3, you will probably be able to use this concealer just as a point of reference. However, in consistency, it's most similar to the Ritual Defy Sorcery Concealer, which is another thick concealer that I do actually like wearing more all over my face. However, that concealer does wear a little bit better under my eyes. I can be a little more carefree with how much I apply, and it doesn't really get caught in that under eye fold. Based on that, I do think that that formula is like a little better. That's what I would say as far as comparisons that I have for it. Oh, another major market one, it's kind of similar in consistency too, is the Hourglass concealer, the Vanish concealer. It's like got a similar texture to that. While I have enjoyed my time with this concealer, I don't know that it's a concealer I would go out of my way for. If you're like buying from Vieve and you're like, oh, I need a concealer, I want to try the Vieve concealer, and they have a shade for you, it's good. It's great. It wears well. It's like, it does all of the things. It just doesn't feel like, to me, something that's so necessary if you like have a concealer you're enjoying already, or if there's a concealer here that works better for you color-wise and you know it works for you color-wise and performs the way you want it to. I don't know if it's worth risking it for the biscuit to go out of your way to try this. I do think it's nice, and if you're already planning to buy from Vieve, it is a good product. That takes us to the Skin Nova Complexion Balm. I have the shade 120. This was $42 for 1 fluid ounce. This also comes in 20 shades, very similar to the concealer. It was very hard to discern what shades would work for me. I did a lot of clicking back and forth, trying to see if other people had done some swatch comparisons, just to really try to get an idea of like what shade might be best for me. And I did the similar tactic that I did with the concealer, and I was like, this was considered a light neutral, and that's why I bought it. So this isn't the lowest number. There's, I think, 2 lighter shades than this, but they had stronger undertones. This product is pretty light coverage. I would say light and potentially up to a medium coverage. I do think that this could potentially flex a little bit, but only if you're wearing it sheer. I do think that the person with the deepest complexion that was wearing this product, it did match that person, but that person had lighter skin than the person that they swatched the darkest concealer on, which means that like that person, it essentially has a concealer but not a foundation. And yeah, it's like a little bit confusing. I was really having a hard time figuring out like how well this shade range really works. This was another product I was really excited to try. Based on the description, it sounded like something that was very much my vibe. This is one of those complexion products that is like not so much about coverage, but it kind of makes it look like your skin has a bit of a filter. Light medium coverage. It's like sitting right in the middle. And when you put it on your skin, I just feel like it looks like you've just put a filter on your face, but it doesn't do too much. You can still see some of your flaws through it, but like they're like diffused. It looks like someone just took the blur tool and lightly put it all over your face, and I love that shit. That's my favorite kind of thing to wear. This shade works really well for me, so I was excited that I got a good shade for me. It just was pretty effortless and worked the way I wanted it to. When I first was trying it, I was using a denser foundation brush, which worked, but whenever I switched to something that was a little bit fluffier as a foundation brush, I liked the way it applied a little bit better. It also applies well with your hands. If you're someone who does like finger painting, it will work for that. It works with a sponge, but that's never my preferred method, and you're gonna get less coverage that way anyway. If you don't like light or sheer coverage, I would just say use your fingers or use your brush. But what I will also say, I don't think that this product likes to be built upon. And the only reason I say that is anytime I tried to put more on, I just like didn't like the way my skin looked. This was very much a situation of less is more with this product. Like I just loved just applying as thin of a layer as possible on my skin. It is the complexion product that I have all over my face. My skin is in a very good place right now, and also I have some powders and stuff on top of it that added a little more coverage, but this is what it can look like. But it also has, you know, looked a little more sheer on my skin as well. This is a product that I kept returning to my testing drawer to play with when I wasn't specifically trying to make myself test something. That is something very important to me as a reviewer, is what is making me go out of my way and not using something that is already my favorite to go play with. This was a product that made me do that. It is in a squeezy tube, which I don't love, but I find that these lighter coverage foundations often come in a squeezy tube. I did watch Jamie do like a demo of it, just like was doing like a demo of a full face of Vieve. She was like, I'm a mom, I'm in a rush, here's what I'm gonna do my makeup. And she like drizzled it on her face as people do. It has a nozzle tip applicator. I'm wondering if that's just how Jamie likes to do her makeup. And if that's how she likes to do her makeup, it makes sense for her to make her product work for her in such a way. But in my opinion, I would rather have a pump. And I do feel as though that this brand, I don't know that it says it's like a luxury brand, but that's kind of like the vibe that it gives off. And I would say like the packaging isn't not good. I desire a little bit more. This doesn't feel like luxurious or something I want to have on my desk. This definitely feels like a product for someone who really wants to take stuff on the go. And that kind of goes well with the concealer. This is kind of similar to the vibe of the Surratt Dewdrop foundation. I would say that's the closest thing in my makeup collection that this foundation is like. And if you know me at all, that's a really high compliment. Both shade ranges are a little bit iffy to me, both the Surratt and this one. It's like if you have a shade in either one, buy that one. This is significantly cheaper and you get more product in this than you do in the Surratt Dewdrop foundation. But the Surratt Dewdrop concealer is also quite high coverage, and so I feel like these work together to give you like a beautiful complexion if you're like buying into this system. So I think they pair really well together, and this has worked with like any other primer and underneath any other products that I've used. It's a really reliable product, and I think it looks really beautiful at the end of the day as well. I also want to say that I had some acne, pretty bad acne, whenever I first started testing this product, and I liked the way that it wore over the acne. It didn't like hide the acne, it wasn't like a full coverage anything, but I feel like it didn't enhance the texture or draw any more attention to those problem areas whenever I was wearing it, so I do appreciate it for that. This product is actually scented just like the primer. I don't know why they skipped the concealer for this scent, but this has the same scent as the primer does, and I think that the brand like describes this as like a luminous finish. I have found it like skin a little bit glowy. When I've used it with other primers, like things other than the Skin Nova, it hasn't been as glowy, and I don't feel like my skin looks super glowy today, and that's the complexion product I have on. It just depends on like what you're doing with it, like how you're using it. The closest shade match I found to this in my collection, the shade 120, was this from Fenty Beauty. This is the Soft Lit Foundation. I have the shade 125, and that was the closest comparison I could find, but these weren't as close in formula. They were just the closest shade. If you've used this foundation and the shade works for you, this shade should work for you. This shade should work for you if you have used any similar complexion product to me. I think it will adjust itself on your skin enough for it to be wearable for you. Just like with the concealer, follow your heart, follow the words, listen to how they describe it, at least as far as like if you have light skin. I don't know if that's consistent across the shades, but that's what worked for me. The Modern Radiance Cream Bronzer is the next product I would like to discuss with you. This was $39. You get 1.16 ounces of product, which I feel is quite generous when it comes to a cream bronzer. I think the Chanel one has 1 ounce of bronzer in its cream bronzer, and this is the shade Light. And ooh, did I hem and haw over which shade of this I was going to buy, because Vieve offers 2 options for bronzer. There's also a powder bronzer, and you might be wondering, Tom, why don't you buy the powder bronzer instead? Because this is a lot of product. I have bronzers that I really like, and the reason I went with the cream was like for a number of reasons. One, I had just bought the Trixie bronzer and I was loving it. That Trixie cream bronzer is bae, and I love it. So it's like, maybe I'm in a cream bronzer moment. I feel mostly indifferent to bronzer, so like I was like into a cream bronzer. I was like, we're a cream bronzer girl now. We like love cream bronzer. So that was why I was like leaning towards the cream. And then their bronzers come in duos, which I don't love duos. I've done a full video about why I don't love face palettes and I don't love duos. And I don't even really like eyeshadow duos. I've also complained about that with the Patrick Ta eyeshadow duos. It's just like not my fantasy. But one thing I do appreciate about the powder duos is that you can just buy refills. However, I do think you have to buy the refill in duos, but there are 2 shades and you're probably going to go through one shade faster. So I don't know. Depends on who you are and how you navigate the space, really. When it came down to the tones of the bronzers in general, I just liked the cream light shade more than I think I liked the powder version. One thing that really bugs me is when a brand has bronzers, but their deepest bronzer wouldn't work on the deepest foundation shade. And I think that is the case here. I know bronzer is kind of like hard, and like there's very few brands that I think any of us would say is like good bronzer range in shades. Maybe other than Phytosurgeons is like the only brand that I feel like has a very comprehensive bronzer range. That was a little bit disappointing. And then the undertones are a little bit weird, which I kind of just mentioned with the powder versus this one. It's like really hard to know what you're going to like. When I got this and I tried it for the first time, I did a first impressions video for my patrons and members. I do that because sometimes when I do a first impressions video, just like on my channel, people will be like, thank you for this review. And it's like, well, this isn't a review. It's like I'm like explaining how things work in this one scenario, but it's like I haven't tested it. That's why I keep the brand first impressions behind the paywall. But of course, now I'm here with a full review for you. And also those people help me pay for the product that I am reviewing. So I'm going to tell them about it first. So that's the only reason that they get that privilege. Well, also they're paying me, but like that's why I do that way. I don't want anyone to like see my first impressions of like a full face of Vieve or any brand and go, I think Tom really loves this brand. And then like months later, I figure out it's like, well, that doesn't really work for me. So that's why I do that. But when I tried this in that video, I had a tough time with it. With the undertone, it's pretty golden. This is one of the products so far that has not beaten that everything looks golden on there. This is a golden bronzer. However, it doesn't look bad on my skin. This is something I need to apply in moderation for me to like the undertone. If I have nothing else on my face and I'm just putting this on top of like foundation, I think it can make me look a little bit sickly. Like it's just not the right undertone for my skin shade. But once I put bronzer and blush and highlight and other things on my face and I powder, it looks really good at the end. It's just something about it at the beginning that makes it look a little less desirable. It just like I don't love the shade. However, the formula of this is quite lovely, and I actually do think it's pretty comparable to the formula of the Trixie bronzer. This is more expensive and you get more product in it, but I also don't know, even if I was using this every day, how long it would take you to go through this. There's just a generous amount of product in here. I had that Chanel bronzer for years and I feel like I barely made a dent in it. I think that's also what would happen with this product if I like chose to keep it and tried to like pan it. I think this blends really well on the skin, and I think it's kind of like a blurring formula. I don't know that that's like a selling point that they try to sell you on, but I just feel like it makes the skin underneath look really good. Not the right shade, but it looks good. Texture wise, it just is really dreamy. I also always felt like I had a lot of control. It wasn't something that I felt like built too quickly too, and I like that, especially in a cream formula. I feel like getting that nice slow build pigmentation for a bronzer specifically seems like something that a lot of brands can't get right. Trixie does that, this one does that, so I really appreciate it for those reasons. Because it's a cream, I think some people will wonder if it works okay over powder or under powder. It works great both ways. Today I applied it over powder and it looks really good. It just looks really good. What I would like is just this cream bronzer range to be expanded upon. Depth-wise, undertone-wise, not everyone wants to be golden, Jamie, and I know you want to be, but like not all of us desire that. So I would love to see some like options just as far as undertones go. I would even take like a more red, like a fair with a red undertone, like a rosy bronzer. Either way, I think this is a really beautiful product. If there's a shade in it that works for you or that you think will work for you, I think you'll like it. But it's not something that I feel like I would go out of my way to buy again. Like it's nice, but I wouldn't have gone out of my way to buy this. It does come in a plastic packaging. Again, it's like, is it luxury? Is it not luxury? But one thing I do appreciate about this specifically is that this lid has ridges around the edge. I feel like I can always get a nice grip on it. So if you have dexterity issues, I think that will be helpful. Other than that, the container is a little bit small. Next up, I want to talk to you about the Sunset Blush. I have the shade Piazza, and this is what it looks like on the inside. It's what I'm wearing on my cheeks today. I have a lot of thoughts. Let me tell you about them. So this comes in 5 shades. There's also a cream balm version of this. The same 5 shades in the powder blush come in the cream blush. The thing was for me when it came down to like choosing a blush product to review is that it was so hard for me to figure out what the shades looked like. And I would say that the complexion products I was pretty concerned about, but the blush was really hard to choose, especially whenever you see the eyeshadow palette I ended up buying. Picking one of the blushes to go with that eyeshadow palette was hard. And you might be wondering, like, why is that important? Well, whenever I do these detailed brand reviews, I like to try to do a full face of them, and I want that full face to look cohesive. The eyeshadow palette I bought was very cool toned. None of the blushes seem to be cool toned at all. Like, I think they all have warmth in them they're described as warm. So it's kind of like, it does work. You can wear warm blush with cool toned eyeshadow, and there's like a balance that you can find in that. It's just hard, and I didn't wanna. I also didn't really love any of the shades. Like, none of them jumped out to me, even not being a shade that would work with the eyeshadow palette. None of them jumped out to me as like particularly unique. I feel like I've been reaching for powder blushes a little bit more recently, so that is why I was like, okay, I'll just get the powder one. The shade Piazza on the models almost looks a little like berry, and I couldn't tell if that was just like a terracotta color. Again, the blushes, at least this blush, the description was more accurate than what I felt like I was seeing in the photos. So that's like one thing. I just like felt like the way they described the shade was better. And it's also, I felt like a bigger risk to buy like those. Those could either be like the best or the absolute worst, and I just was like, I don't want to try to have an uphill battle. I want to buy products I think will work, so that's again why I went with the powder. This blush is just nice. I think it's pretty blurry. It's easy to blend. I think this blush formula is pigmented, but I also bought a deep shade, so that could be on me. Like, this shade was clearly meant for someone with a deeper complexion. I just like the look of it better. I love brown blush, and so I was like, I want to try the brown blush. But it was really easy to blend out on the skin, so it was like nice. It's nice. It's just like, it's nice. I do have a beef because this packaging is not refillable. Your powder bronzers are refillable, and so is your pressed powder, which we'll talk about in a moment. Why isn't the powder blush in like a refillable compact component? It's just in this like finished covered cardboard packaging, which is like not bad, but it's not weighty. It's really small. It's like compact, which again kind of is leaning more into like, I'm viewing Vieve as a brand for people who are on the go looking for light things to carry with them. This is like feeling much more of that vibe to me. It does have like a cute little mirror in it. I don't know. It's like really not worth going out of your way for. Like, it's like a perfectly fine blush. I just don't think that their blush shades are nuanced enough, nor is their formula mind-blowing enough to go out of your way to try. One of my subscribers and creator friend on Instagram, Kelly, she was telling me that she really likes these squeezy blushes, and she was like, I just don't understand why you didn't buy one of those. I was like, I don't really use a lot of like squeezy liquid blushes. If that's the case, like the cream blushes are better. I wish that would have been more clear to me, or I wish I would have known that. But again, Vieve's hard to know going in what it's going to look like. So the formula that I feel like this blush is closest to is actually my Westman Atelier blushes. So this would definitely be a cheaper option to get a similar thing to the Western Atelier blushes. These are less pigmented than the one from Vieve. That would be the main difference, but I feel like they both have that like matte, soft, blurring finish to them. And in shade 2 Piazza, the shade that I have closest is Evaporate from Phytosurgeons. When they're blended out, they look very close. Whenever it's like a thick swatch of each of them, they don't look as close, but I feel like on my cheek, this is Evaporate, this is Piazza. Here's Piazza. Piazza is a little bit warmer. Evaporate was part of Phytosurgeons' toasted blushes, so this one has like a little bit of coolness to it that Piazza doesn't have. And that's like the closest one I have to this. If you have Evaporate and you were interested in this shade, I think you have a more interesting, unique shade than this. But if you wanted something that is maybe a little bit warmer, a little bit oranger, and you wanted like, or like something like a powder version of Evaporate, this might be something for you to try. I just don't know if this blush is like special enough to go anywhere. Like, I wouldn't buy another one. And since I've mentioned scent on some of the other products, I don't think that any of the powder products have a scent to them. For highlight, I ended up buying the Nova Glow liquid highlighter in the shade Bijou. This was $31 for 0.4 fluid ounces. The concealer has a little bit more in it, but they're in the same component. The band on the concealer is black, and then this one is gold on the highlight, and then the gold has a frosted packaging. I kind of wish these were a little more different packaging wise. There were so many times I almost put highlighter on as concealer. Obviously, not everyone's going to have a full face of any one brand. It's very common for people to have a favorite product from a range of brands, and you wouldn't normally sit down and do a full face of one brand. In the range, I think it would be helpful, because what if someone does want a highlighter and a concealer from your brand? Everything I showed you as far as the concealer packaging is the same here. They also have a couple other options for highlight. So they have some face palettes. I already talked about how I don't love face palettes, so that was an easy pass for me. They also have another product called the Skin Dew, and I like really could not figure out what that product might have been similar to. I don't know if it would have been like similar to Glow Lust in the Hollywood Flawless filter, or if it was just like a shimmer Vaseline goop. That was like the vibe that I was getting. I have no idea. It came in like a squeeze easy tube, and I was just like, I don't know that I want to deal with that. I saw them using it like all over people's bodies. I know there are some other Vaseline-y feeling body products that have shimmer, golden shimmer. Of course it's golden shimmer, it's Vieve. I don't know if it like sets down or if it's just something that one would maybe use for photo shoots. Maybe it is designed for professional makeup artists and for doing photography work. I don't know. It just seemed like a not reasonable product for me. This definitely felt like a more regular highlighter experience. And I was like, I would like that. I wish there was a powder highlighter option because I probably would have opted for that. I don't love liquid highlighters. I don't know why, but like, I just prefer like powder or creams, something that comes in a tub. Something about liquid highlighters, I just don't think about them. So I love a stick highlighter. I wish it was a stick. I don't know. Like, I just wish they had that kind of option. There is a shade called Ballerina. They say it's a cool toned pink, but still in the marketing, it looked warm toned. However, Ballerina was out of stock. If Ballerina was in stock, that would have been the shade I would have bought. But this shade Bijou is just kind of like a regular champagne-y kind of shade. I feel like it's a very standard shade for light and fair skin. If you've ever had like a shimmery champagne shade, that's it. That's the shade that you're gonna get. So I find the shade like not unique really enough for one to like go out of their way to try. And again, because of the big doe foot, just like the concealer, I didn't like dotting this directly onto my face. I would use the back of my hand and get a brush or take it off the back of my hand and tap it onto my face. I didn't like to work directly off the doe foot. However, having those big doe foot applicators, if you are a makeup artist, swiping them onto your mixing palette, that might be a better way. And so this is what the shade looks like, just kind of isolated, but it's not that metallic on the skin. When you blend it out, it has like very micro shimmer particles in it, but they don't like move around. It's just like the most basic kind of like highlighter look. Someone did directly ask me when I was like, I'm filming my Vieve review, what do you need to know? They were asking whether or not this product sets. I don't know who is saying that it doesn't. It almost sets to like a powdery highlighter, but I made sure after that person asked me, because my experience thus far has been that it was set, but like I was like, maybe I'm misremembering, or maybe like, I don't know, maybe it isn't setting and I'm doing, I don't know. But I put it on the back of my hand one day while I was working and it didn't budge. A little bit of the shimmer might come off when you touch it, but it's not tacky. If you have long hair and your hair hits it, it's not gonna get stuck in it unless you're wearing something glossy over top of it or something else glossy on your cheek. It's not that kind of product. It's something that fully sets down. I know a lot of people who watch my channel, and I know a lot of people, and the thing that's kind of in vogue right now is to make a product that is very similar to Charlotte Tilbury's Hollywood Flawless Filter thing. This is a highlighter. You should view it as a highlighter. This is not something that I think anyone would want to wear not as a highlighter. I wouldn't really use it as a mix-in. I wouldn't use it the same way I use my Auric Glow Lust. I wouldn't put it down as a primer. This is just like a liquid highlighter, and it's nice. I put it over powder. It works without lifting things underneath it. It's fine, but this is not something I would go out of my way to like buy. I wanted to have a highlighter to add into this look that I was gonna do with this. I wish I got Ballerina, but even then I couldn't tell if Ballerina was a good shade for me either. They described it as a cool toned, but as we know, it's really hard to tell with Vieve's photography because their photography made it look warm, but it said cool toned. It's not bad. If you wanted it, I think you'll enjoy it. But if you wanted it and you thought it was going to be a replacement for the Hollywood Flawless Filter or something, it's not that. And I think that's the only questions that I feel like I need to answer about this. Oh, and it sets down. Also, I know I've been doing like some comparisons. I just don't have anything like this right now. This is not a highlighter shade that I would buy on a regular basis. Let's talk about the Modern Powder Perfector. This is their setting powder. You get 18 grams of product for $39. I got the lightest shade. Ignore the dent in there. I was press-ons on and whew, I like messed it up really bad. It was so funny because I was done testing it and then of course I did that. So that's not from it falling or anything. That's just my own stupidity. Like the powder bronzers I mentioned earlier, these are refillable. So there's this compact and then you can just refill the powder. It comes in 4 shades. The shade seems light enough for me. Let's talk about the packaging first. Sorry, I just like was starting to jump into it. I have so many feelings about this. I also have no feelings about this powder. The packaging is not heavy. It is definitely like a lighter plastic, but I do think it's aesthetically pleasing. And I think something smart they did with this compact is that this has like a physical texture on it. You know how whenever you get like shiny packaging, you get fingerprints all over it right away. Almost immediately get fingerprints all over it. There are fingerprints on the back, but the front, the part that you would be looking at the most, fingerprints can't really get on it. And that I like. I think this component is cute, but it doesn't feel like a very nice, luxurious, forever component to me. So what I thought would be actually cuter to put in here is some of my magnetic eyeshadow pans and like make a cute little quad. I'm going on a trip in a couple of weeks and I was like, oh, I'll use that. But I took out the powder, which I'm not gonna do now because it's kind of fragile because I stuck my nail almost all the way through the powder to the bottom and it keeps flaking and falling out even while I'm sitting here doing this review. Like there's powder all over my vanity right now. The magnet is in the center of the pan and it's small, so I wouldn't be able to put 4 shades in here. It would just be one magnetic pan in the center of the palette. So I'm just gonna shut that and set it down right now. Here is my qualm with this. Sometimes I would use the powder and I think it would look beautiful and it would blur my skin and look incredible. And then sometimes I would use it and it would ruin every bit of work I had done up to that point and just like make my skin look dry and textured and awful. And I like don't know what it is because I basically applied it the same way every time. I would take a fluffy brush. I would just kind of like swipe it all over my face. It would even be if I would use the same products underneath it, like whether it was the Vieve products or other complexion products that I have, it just didn't matter. It would sometimes be beautiful and sometimes be awful. And because of that, I just like don't recommend you buying it. Even though I've had some successes with it, the absolute inconsistency of it makes it really unreliable. And when you're spending that much on a product or any product, every product should be a foolproof product, whether you spent $5 on it or you spent $100 on it. Like it should work the way you want it to work every time. And this just simply didn't. And I have to move on from it. It's also all over me. It's all over me. I think that's also making me more angry now that it's like all, it's just, ugh. No, not for me. I think it does provide a little bit more coverage too. That's the last thing I'll say on that. Let's talk about eyeshadow. This brand has quite a few offerings when it comes to eyeshadow. So they have a couple 10 pan palettes. Then they have a handful of quads that they sell. And it was hard for me to like make a decision on the eyeshadow palette. Well, it wasn't, but they also have eyeshadow sticks. I like eyeshadow sticks, but I think I have enough. And it's not because I have like a ton. I really only use like cream eyeshadow sticks to really quickly do a blend so I can put a very beautiful shimmer on it. And I have the neutral shades I want for that. The shades that are neutral on my skin. I have ones that are a little bit warmer, ones that are a little bit cooler, and that's all I need. So I was just like, I don't feel like reviewing those because it's also not like I'm wearing a bunch of eyeshadow sticks. I've said that about eyeliner recently. So like, you know, it's like it's like I'm not an eyeshadow stick reviewer either. Like I will be happy to try one and review one if one should interest me. For the purposes of this review, it just didn't feel relevant and kind of like I hadn't heard anything about them. So it didn't feel like relevant for me to buy. Because the vibe going into trying Vieve was like, everything looks like it's warm. They have a palette called the ninetease palette, and it's a play on the 90s, but 9tease, and this is what it looks like. And on the website, it looks absolutely great and cool toned, and I was like, I wonder if it will actually look like that in real life. It's like the one thing that actually looks cool toned on her website. I was like, but what if I get it and it's warm toned? Happy to confirm it is actually a cool toned eyeshadow palette. I know I'm wearing a lot of warm tones today, and I don't want you to think because I'm not wearing this eyeshadow palette automatically means that I don't like it. I was like feeling romantic, warm vibes today, so I was serving it. Like that was like what I like sat down and was like doing my makeup for the Vieve review, and it's like my channel, I don't have to wear Vieve just because I'm doing a Vieve review. Here's like how I feel about this, just like getting it, interacting with it, whatever. I kind of wish I would have bought one of the quads because the shimmers look a little bit different in the quads. However, I didn't like the look of any of the quads, so it's why I ended up with this. So the packaging is very similar to the packaging of the blush. It's like definitely there's cardboard underneath this like varnish, this finish. It's like beautiful. It's like very cute. You have those two panthers, cats of some sort. You have the metal logo here, and like the back is very simple, just a quick sticker to say what shade it is. You have this actually beautiful mirror. I'm not normally one who like cares about having a mirror in my eyeshadow palette, but there's something about this being kind of a lighter feel in the hands and it being such a wide mirror that I actually oft found myself when I was using this eyeshadow palette doing my face of makeup using this mirror, which is not something I typically do. Usually I'm using like a mirror that's down here and I have a mirror behind the camera that I'll check on every now and then. I'm actually using the mirror as a selling point here, which is like very unlike me. So that's the packaging. You get 10 shades, you get 3 shimmers and 7 mattes. And this eyeshadow palette has been interesting. So I thought I was gonna really love this. Like I said a little bit earlier, I love cool tones. I often wear cool tones. So this was like right up my alley. I think the thing that's disappointing to me, sorry, did I even tell you how much it was? It's $59. I don't know why I it escaped my mind to tell you how much it was and what, I don't know. I got so excited to tell you about why I didn't buy any of the other eyeshadows to tell you about this one. I really wanted to like fall in love with this. I really enjoyed playing with it the first time. If you watch my first impressions video, if you are a member or a patron, or you become one later down the line and you go back and watch my first impressions video on this, like I really was delighted by it. So I was like, cool, this is gonna be like one of the highlight moments because I just like enjoyed playing with it right out the bat. Anytime I was using it, it was like I was like forcing myself to. Now, to be fair to the eyeshadow palette, the way I wear eyeshadow recently is just like I'm not really like a big palette person. So every palette, even some of my most favorite palettes I've had for years, they feel like a chore for me to use because I want something very simple. But this formula, I like. It is a harder pressed formula. Not as hard pressed as the Hindash eyeshadows, but it's definitely like a firmer press in the pan. There's not a lot of kick up whenever you put your brush in there. These are definitely the kind of eyeshadows that have like a lighter pigmentation, slower build, but not like no pigmentation. They allow for like a nice build. What's interesting though is I didn't find like these as blurring as I found the blush to be. So or even the powder whenever I was using it. Like those were kind of blurring when I used them. Not that these like enhance texture or anything, but I just figured that they would blur as much as those do. And there are blurring eyeshadows. That sounds like such a weird thing to say, but you notice it. Whenever you find one that blurs, you're like, oh, I see what you're doing there. These don't really do that, but they're easy to blend, soft build, so like kind of my preferred thing when it comes to matte eyeshadows, but like not as easy to blend as like a Viviar or the Hindash eyeshadows. They just required like a little bit more work than I'm typically used to using a powder eyeshadow at this point. At this point, I really do expect my eyeshadow to do the work for me. Like I put it on and I do a couple blends and then it's like, it should be done. Like that's how I feel about it. And this formula doesn't really like perform like that, but it's good. It's just like not my favorite matte formula. And then the shimmers. There's a time and a place for this shimmer formula, and some of you will really like it. But for me and the Meadow Sparkle that I like, it's not it. It's just like not it. And I think that could be the reason that this palette never became like an obsession for me and I never like sought it out as something to put on my face regularly, simply because the shimmers are just like, it's like, ugh, I don't want to use one of the shimmers. And of course, I don't have to, but I also don't feel like the mattes impressed me enough for me to be like, I want to just use the mattes and then apply another shimmer. I've done that like a handful of times, but it's like not my favorite thing. Like but it's like, it's not like my Makeup by Mario palette, which sometimes I go in there just to use the shimmers. Sometimes I use that palette just to use the matte. And like, I never felt that way about this. So the shimmers are pretty. They are pretty, but they're so soft. So for normal people, like if you are like wearing it to work or whatever, but I feel like this palette really sells itself on like 90s, like grungy glam. Like it just has those kind of shades in it. And the shimmers, I just feel like you need more wow pizzazz for like an evening look. I just wish that at least one of them would have had something, just like something a little more sparkle, a little more razzle dazzle. I was feeling a lot of want when I would use the shimmers. I do think that this cool toned like burgundy situation is the thing that delighted me the most in this palette. The first time I used the palette, I was like using the grays and I was like, what is that burgundy shade doing in here? When I was pulling this palette out to use when I was using it, I was like, well, how can I work the burgundy in? It's nice. It's just like not my favorite. And I think if you were someone who really wanted one of these eyeshadow palettes, I think you'll like it. It's not the kind of eyeshadow palette and or formula that I think that one needs to try. If you are someone who likes eyeshadow, I don't know that this will impress you. But if it's something that you like wanted to try, I don't think you'll be disappointed. It's just the shimmers, you have to like a soft shimmer. Whenever I wear the shimmers, when I'm putting them on, I was like, ugh. And then I would zoom out and I would look at myself and I would be like, okay, it is pretty. It's just demure. And I'm just not demure. Although I feel like Today my hair started out so big and I kept touching it and it just keeps falling. I'm currently testing a hair device and I actually don't know how to use it yet for my hair length, but I am having fun. But today's test was something special. I like sat down to film this review I've been working on forever and it's like my hair just is doing whatever it wants. Just ignore it. The end of this video is gonna test my patience so bad. Unfortunately, like the worst products are the next 3 products I'm going to tell you about. So buckle in. We're talking about lip products. And unfortunately, just a spoiler alert, I don't think Vieve does a very good job with lip products. I don't think they do. It's not great. Let's start with the modern lip definer, and I have to say there's nothing modern about this. I have the shade Tailored. This was $23. Ooh, boy. Going back to my first impressions video, when I tried this, I was putting it on my lips, I was like blending it out, which I like to do. I like a diffused lip. I put it on my lips and I was blending it out. It pilled, which has never happened to me before. And you might be saying, Tom, maybe you had some dead skin. It was on dead skin. You were blending it out. The dead skin lifted. I think that's a fair thing to point out because that is a thing that could happen. So I used it again relatively quickly after I did my first impressions video. And it pilled for me again when I was blending it out. And I was like, this is so weird. In the footage that just played or is about to play, it pills on me again. It pills every time I use it, which is so crazy. I've never had a lip product pill on me. I've never had a lip liner pill on me. It's just so bananas. My brain can't handle it. Like my brain's like, what do you mean it pills? I actually like, I don't know. Okay. So the only formula that I have tried that is similar to this is, well, it's not even all of them. I tried one shade from Trixie Cosmetics, but I've also tried some other shades from Trixie Cosmetics. When I put it on, it's like sticky. Like when you touch it, it's sticky. It's not like a gloss. It's a matte finish, but it's like sticky. It's a bit of a tack to it. If you cover your whole lips with lip liner as opposed to just like lining your lips and then put this on, maybe it will help the lipstick stay on, but it's just weird. I don't like it. So it's like sticky and basically it just wants to be a line. It does not want to be blended because it just like doesn't like that. However, the Trixie one didn't pill. This one pills. I don't know why this one pills. Jamie, why does it pill? That's so weird. I just want to blend it out with my finger. I just want a little blended line. I want it to look beautiful. I want it to be gorgeous. I want it to be stunning. It's not. This is also the first time that I feel like the description of the shade failed me. It's described as a cool toned brown and it's supposed to have a bit of like a purpley undertone. I guess there's like a little bit of purple in it, but it reads a little bit warm on me. I think the shade that I have that is the closest is from Isamea. It's the shade Liberica, but it is definitely cool toned, whereas I feel like this is like warm toned with purple. This is like cool toned with a little bit of purple. Both are brown, but they have like a little bit of purple. And on my eye stay, you can see I have warm toned and warm toned purple, which is like a thing that can't exist. But it's just like, I'm trying to like find things that are going to be like cool toned to match this eyeshadow palette. Like that was kind of the goal. It's like, I knew I was going to buy that eyeshadow palette. I just wanted it all to go. Like that was all. I just wanted it all to go together. I just don't know. I don't know. The pilling thing is actually crazy and I haven't stopped thinking about it and I do not buy that. Do not go out of your way. Not everyone's into lip liners and especially like a $23 lip liner is kind of expensive. I spent more, I've spent less on lip liner, but it's like that pilling thing to me. Any lip liner that would pill on me when I try to blend it out, it's going to be a no-go for me. So I just do not buy it. It's not worth it. When it came to buying a lip product, whether I was going to buy a gloss or a lipstick or like picking which lip formula I was going to try, their lip gloss shades were just like not enticing to me and I didn't want to buy a clear gloss because I need a clear gloss like I need a hole in my head. Like I just simply don't need that. Like, I just don't want it. And I had actually previously tried the satin lipsticks, which we'll talk about in a moment. So I was like, I want to just try a different lip formula. So I was like, oh, there's actually a lipstick that comes in the shade ninetease, which is the name of this palette. So I was like, it must go. It must be a cool toned gray, brown, grayish shade. So this is their modern matte lipstick and this costs $27. Let's start with the pros before we get to it. This is a magnetic closure, which I love. I love a magnetic closure. And it's giving Tom Ford. It's not very weighty, but it's like nice. It's nice. It's a nice component. That's where the good things stop. Again, this shade is called ninetease. It's described as a cool toned brown. Does that look cool toned to you? And I know I run my motherfucking mouth on this channel and I say everything turns orange on me. And I know, but this isn't on me yet. I haven't swatched it for you yet. It's already orange. Why would you name the shade ninetease? I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg, if the palette was first and they were like, oh, we need a lipstick shade to go after it. Or there was a lipstick shade, it's like our iconic lipstick shade. Like they are not the same thing. So I don't know how we landed wherever we landed. This formula is really soft. I just mean like physically soft because every time I apply it, it bumps up on the side and soft, it moves around in the bullet, which when you're paying this much for a lipstick, it shouldn't be doing that. Now, I have given other formulas a pass on that. I know that. I do really like the signature lip from Merit, but I like that formula. The formula. This is the driest lipstick I've put on my lips since 2016 liquid lips. I do not know. I do not understand. It's not like instant pigment. It's not creamy. It's so dry and unpleasant to apply. I put it up to my lips and I swipe and then I swipe and then I swipe and then not until the third or fourth swipe is any pigment coming off. And then because it's so dry feeling, even I've done prep, so much prep. It dries my lips out immediately and makes them look terrible. It ages my lips. It's the color's wrong. the formula wrong. It's soft. Everything's wrong. It's so wrong. Everything about this lipstick is wrong. I'm sorry. I hate it. And I don't, I just hate it. I never want to wear this lipstick again. I don't want to give this lipstick to my worst enemy. I don't like this lipstick. Everything about this lipstick is wrong. Unfortunately. There's a swatch. Look at it. It's orange. It's orange. It's not even neutral. It's like something described as cool tone that's orange. And it was orange in the bullet. And I put it on me orange. It's not meant to be like this. That's not what you said at all. As Imogen Heath once said. I don't like being mean, but you need to go back. You need to go back to the shop with that one. That one's not it for me. And I have been more into matte lipsticks recently. So I'm familiar with what an actual modern matte lipstick feels like. And it's not that. They're better. There are better modern matte lipsticks than that. I just want to get through this briefly because it's been on my channel before. I don't wear it a lot, but it's not mostly because I don't think it's that good. This is the Satin Slip Lipstick in the shade Nightie. This is $27 as well. My friend Ananda, who's Medium Olive on Instagram, I guess she bought the whole range of these and she sent them to me. She never told me why she sent them to me, but I think it's because she doesn't think they're good. I don't want to put words in her mouth because they're not really that great. So that's the shade. It's a nice concealer peachy lip. There's and I didn't buy this, so there was no promise of what the shade was going to look like because I didn't pick it out. But I had all 5 of them. And the thing is, they're not that impressive. The only reason I kept this was because the shade was a nice concealer lip on me. Just like the other lipstick, the packaging is magnetic. It's nice, cute. There's there's not a lot to complain about. It's not the most comfortable satin lipstick. It's not the most flattering satin lipstick I've ever worn. So that one I really just keep for the shade. And I wear it sometimes, but it's very rare that I wear it. So I don't really recommend that either, unfortunately. And now we're to the final product. We're landing mid. I bought the Inisiveil setting spray. So this is just scented as the primer and the Skin Nova Complexion Balm. If you are not into scented products, it almost smells like perfume. If the scent in those came in a perfume, that is how strongly this smells. I have another scented setting spray that I've been using recently, the one from Trixie, the All The Way setting spray. This smells like peach, but I never, when I spray it, feel like I'm spraying a perfume into my face. But whenever I spray this, it feels like perfume. This is $33. They released a mini of this after I bought this, and I don't normally, when I'm doing brand reviews, buy their setting spray because I find it's a hard thing to discuss and talk about because I think everyone's looking for something different and specific when it comes to a setting spray. I just was curious, is it the all-nighter? It's kind of just the baseline I was going to, and then the all-nighter has changed since I even bought this. I haven't tried the Charlotte Tilbury, so I don't know if it's comparable to the Charlotte Tilbury. So I do think it's nice. I feel like it gives my skin a natural finish. It's not something that's going to make you look really super glowy, but it is kind of one of those finishing sprays that has kind of that hairspray feel. So it definitely, you can feel it increasing the longevity of your makeup just when you spray it. It doesn't make your face super tight, but you know how all-nighter, the original all-nighter will just kind of make it you kind of feel it on your skin just at first, but then you kind of wear it for a little bit and it's fine. The sprayer on this is quite aggressive. And I know it doesn't look that way when I just sprayed it for you, but when I spray it at my face or at my hand, it comes out really fast and then it kind of mystifies, if that makes sense. I don't know. Every time I've sprayed my face with it, I'm always it's too strong. Maybe I need to hold it up further away from my face, but I feel I hold it the same distance away from my face as I hold any setting spray away from my face. And the thing about it being fragrance, which I wouldn't mind, it carries. I actually can smell it all day. When I wear this setting spray, especially if it gets on your clothes, which it will, unless you change your, if you do your makeup in your robe or whatever, but then your robe's gonna smell like it. Whatever this is near, whatever fabric catches it, it's gonna smell like it. And also because I can smell it on me whenever I'm wearing it, I feel like my face is projecting scent throw. Like, I just feel like it's like I'm talking to someone. It's like, I wonder if they can smell my face, which is the thing you don't ever want to think about. I think this does like a little bit of blurring whenever you spray it. Like, I do think my skin definitely looks more finished whenever I use the setting spray. Like, there are setting sprays easily available in the American market that are very comparable. But if you are in the UK and you like didn't want to buy from Urban Decay, whether because of their parent company or because of the weird stuff that they are doing to Skin to Navy, like if you want to, I think this is pretty comparable, but you have to be, you must be okay with fragrance. That's the only thing I will say. It's not an unpleasant scent. I do like the scent of those products. It's distinct and you have to like it, which is hard when you're in America shopping, if whether or not you'll like the scent. Like, I really don't know how to describe it. It's just like very like citrusy. It's not like anything. It's not like I could say vanilla cupcake and you would know what it was like. It's not like that kind of thing. It's just like it's like some kind of scent. Now that we are at the end of the video, I'm going to tell you the products that I think, if you want to buy from Vieve, what I think the absolute yeses are. And the only two absolute yeses are the Skin Nova and the Skin Nova Complexion Balm. If there's a shade for you, these are top tier products in my opinion. I quite like them. If you are looking for more coverage, I think that the concealer is really nice, but it's not something that I was so impressed by that I feel like it's wow, bam, go out of your way to get this. But these would be the three products that I think that the brand has done the best. The bronzer, if you can find a shade that you like, this would have been highly rated if I liked the shade of it more. And I think the bronzer is like the only thing that it's like, I kind of like the bronzer. Everything else is fine to like absolutely not worth it. I do not recommend you buy any lip products from Vieve, unfortunately. So now that I'm at the end of this video, how do I feel about the brand Vieve now? I think it's just like more inconsistent than the way it presents itself. Like, it's not super luxurious. It's not as tacky as Charlotte Tilbury, but like it's like kind of the same vibe where you're like, oh, I think I'm gonna get this like crazy luxury thing, and then it's just like, it's like fine to interact with, but it's like not my favorite stuff to interact with. They have some really good banger products, but they also have some real duds. It does feel like a crapshoot when you're buying from them. If you live in the United States and you were like lusting after this, I don't think it's gonna like live up to your expectations of it. It's kind of how I feel. I just like feel like for the most part, you don't need to go out of your way unless you are looking for a new primer and you love the original Victoria Beckham primer. This is the only thing that I really think that you would have to go out of your way for to get from Vieve. But other than that, I think there's a lot of more easily accessible products here. And if you do live in the UK and these products are easily accessible to you, like there are a lot of better brands that have a better offering than this. It's now coming off like I hate the brand Vieve. It's just like, you know, I'm thinking about it contextually. But like, I'm excited to see what Vieve does in the future. I think that they can do it. I just don't know that all of it has done it. I think the only thing now that I have questions about is like the cream blush, like kind of hearing after the fact that that's like the blush that I should have bought. So that might be something I try down the line, but who knows? Who could be sure? Not me. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I know this was a long one. I've been filming for a while and I scripted this one. Well, not scripted it word for word, but like I had an outline and I stuck to it. So the fact that I've been filming this long leads me to believe that you were in for a long video. So if you stuck around, thank you so much. If you're still here and you haven't subscribed, I don't know why you haven't. You clearly like spending time with me. I'm on Patreon and I have channel memberships. You can find those linked down below. I do additional content over there, and whenever I do brand reviews like this, my first impressions go up there, and that's only for you. But no pressure. I'm just happy that you are here. Make sure you check out the pinned comment to support people directly in Gaza, and that's it for me. I have to go. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to follow your haute, and you'll find me, and I'll see you in a video sometime soon. Go forth. 'Tis out.